In a corporate environment, the users move from one office location to other office locations quite frequently. So one possibility is that they can take their IP phone from one office location to the other office location and connect there. And that's a hassle, right? And that's practically not possible, right? Always that you take your phone with you. I mean, that's not really feasible. So instead of carrying your phone, you could do it this way. Either you configure your extension to all the different offices that you visit. So for instance, you have got extension 1000, and you can ask your administrator, the user can ask the administrator, I mean, to configure that extension at 5 different offices on 5 different phones. That's also not feasible, right? That's also not a really viable solution. To cater the problem of mobility, right, wherein you don't really need to take your phone along with you, or you don't need to assign the extension on multiple phones, because I mean, you're adding a space on your phone, right? And that's still adding the dependency on a particular phone. How about a profile itself, which loads on any phone within your organization? And that profile is called Extension Mobility Profile, and that feature is called Extension Mobility. It's one of the very popular features available with Cisco Unified Communication. And in this lecture, we're going to talk about how to configure extension mobility. So basically, these are the three, I would say, steps broadly outlined, wherein we configure the extension mobility service on the call manager server. So it's like activating the extension mobility service. The next step is to configure the phone and make it ready for the extension mobility. And then the third would be to configure the user and the device profile for this extension mobility. So with that said, let's go ahead and create our extension mobility on Cisco Unified Communication Manager. So we are here. First of all, let's go ahead and, as we talked about the first step of configuring extension mobility, let's go ahead and activate the service. So I'm going to go to the Unified Serviceability from the right side, and then go to service activation, go to the publisher server. That's where I have got the server turned on, the subscriber is turned off in my infrastructure at the moment. So I've already activated the extension mobility service. You could see that it's already activated. So we are good from that front. And then the second step would be to go ahead and validate the services on or not. Let's go ahead and verify that the service is started, right? And it's in activated, that we already validated. So from service perspective, we are good to go. Now let's go ahead and go back to Cisco Unified CM administration page and add the extension mobility service. So that's going to be from device setting, and then phone services. We have got certain existing one, but let's create a new extension mobility profile. So I'm going to say the name of this profile would be extension mobility. The description again would be extension mobility. Let me just simply go ahead and 1 second. Just simply copy it and paste it here. The URL is something that I can share it with you guys, but this is the URL basically. Is a long URL, and you can just Google it. I can also paste that for you. Make sure that you do not have any white space, because sometimes you don't really realize that there's a space before or after. So I just validated. Make sure that in your infrastructure, you change this IP address, which is the IP address of my call manager server, 192.168.0.211, to your IP address of the call manager in your organization. So service URL is this. You can find it from Cisco document, or I could also share it with you in the course section. Now leave it all as is, right? And you don't need to really do anything apart from this URL. Just make sure that you have it enabled. And then you just hit save. And that is it. The extension mobility service is added. And now let's go to the second step, which is the configuration of the phone for extension mobility. So it's more about making our phones ready for this service. Okay, so let's pick the phone John Doe, and here on the phone page, if you keep on scrolling a bit down, you would see an option called Enable Extension Mobility. Okay, so make sure that you have this checked, and under this, use current device setting, hit on save. So on all the phones you want extension mobility to be configured, you make sure that you have this enable extension mobility option turned on. Okay, so this one is done. And the second step is to, from the related link option, the top right corner, you got to go to the subscribe and unsubscribe service, click on go, and there would be a small pop-up which would appear right here. So you got to choose the extension mobility as a service. Click on next, and yes, click on subscribe, and click on save. You're done. So this particular phone, John Doe's phone, is subscribed to extension mobility. John Doe, this coin here. So to validate it, you can just go back again to subscribe and unsubscribe services, and you would notice that this time it's listed down here. Okay, so we have enabled the extension mobility feature here, and we have subscribed it as well. So we got to repeat it for other phones as well. I can put it on Jane Doe's phone as well. So I'm gonna go to, first of all, let's go ahead and enable the mobility feature from here. Click on save and do an apply config. And now go ahead and click on subscribe, unsubscribe services. So you see that there is no subscribe services on this phone. So I'm going to say extension mobility, subscribe, and click on save. So we're done with the subscription on phone 2 as well. There is the third phone that we could repeat it as well, pretty quick. Enable extension mobility, save, okay, apply config, and then now we got to go to the subscribe, unsubscribe, select the extension mobility service, next, subscribe, save, and we're good to go. So we basically prepared our phones with the extension mobility feature. Now let's go ahead and create basically the third step in our process, which is to configure users and profiles for extension mobility. Now, to do this, let's go ahead under device setting. We have got the device profile, this guy here. At the moment, there is no device profile added. Since we are going to create a profile which will be loading, this is the profile that's basically going to be loaded on any phone within your organization that is registered with this call manager. So I have selected the product type to be IP communicator, which you would know that it has got 8 lines, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And the maximum extension that can be loaded on this extension mobility profile would be 8. So if you have got a phone which has got only 2 lines, right, like a 79 series phone, in that case, only first 2 extensions would be loaded. So, but generally that's not really required. So yeah, it's okay. So I'm gonna say the device profile name to be extension mobility profile. Description, again, phone button template is going to be the Cisco IP communicator from the list. All right. Cisco CIPC SCCP. Soft key template, I'm gonna leave it as default, or standard user is just fine. Rest, everything is okay. I'm gonna say save it. Okay. Now, by default, it has loaded my profile with 2 extensions that I can configure. For now, I can just configure extension, a special extension 5555. And I would say extension mobility user 5000, and paste it for the rest of the places. Okay, and then hit save. So now I have got this extension 5555 associated with this EM profile that I created, which is extension mobility profile. All right, so I have this. I can add more lines to it, but for demo purpose, I'm good for this for now. So device profile is added. Now I'm going to create an end user and associate this device profile with that. So let's go to the end user. I don't have any end user created, so I'm going to just create one test user. I would say user 1. Password would be simplest. Let's see if password policy allows it. PIN. Just gonna keep simple. Last name is 1 and first name is user. Title, I'm gonna leave things as is. Telephone number would be 5555. Okay. All right, so now you see that under the device information available profiles, we have got extension mobility profile that we're gonna select, right? And it'll be added right here. Sorry, not from here, extension mobility profile, this one here. So I'm gonna just keep it down here selected. Default profile, extension mobility, cross cluster. I don't need to enable this. I can leave it as is, and then click on save. So user 1 is created, and it has got the extension mobility profile selected under the control profiles as well. And I have assigned it a PIN, user ID, and extension under the telephone number as well. So now we are done with the device profile and the end user creation as well. So this was pretty much the 3rd step. So we're done with all the steps so far. Let me just go back. We enable the extension mobility service, and we also created the extension mobility service on the Unified Communication Manager. The next step was we prepared our phone by enabling extension mobility and subscribing to the service that we created on step number 1. And third we did was to create a user and associate the profile that we created for extension mobility. Now, Let's go ahead and check out the services that we have. So we clicked on the services button, this one here, and it's now asking for the user ID. So it means that it requested the URL, and we are gonna provide it the credential that we set it for this guy here and submit. Perfect. So we have got our login to be successful, and this IP communicator is going to load my extension mobility profile with extension 5000. Oh, I'm sorry. We entered 5000 under extension mobility. However, it should have been 5555, but the extension anyways is 5555. So I'm going to go ahead and correct that. 1 second. Device setting, device profile, extension mobility profile. So it is basically 5555 and not 5000. So you might have noticed while I was configuring it. Anyways, just pardon me for that. And we hit save and apply config. All right, so my phone is just rebooted because the device profile was loaded on it. Okay, so I have got extension mobility user 555 loaded in here, and I can either just log out from here, or I can make calls to other users. So you would notice that I have not got the no service configured. I do not have the logout option with this phone. I'll talk about that and how to enable that. But for now, let me show you the other phones basically. Let me just get this registered. The user one phone, there's some problem with LAN connection on this virtual machine. So I hope once I enable the adapter setting here, it brings the connectivity up. So I hope this phone will be coming up in a while. So let me just do an exit or wait for it. Let me just pause the video and let it be registered, these phones. Okay. All right, so these two phones are logged in now. I mean, registered now. And if I could just go to the services here and do the same, I'll be able to load the profile on these phones as well. So login successful, unsuccessful. All right, okay, why is that so? Because there is one IP communicator already logged in with this profile. Okay, so let me just log out before I attempt to log out from, before I attempt to log in from another device here. But you notice that it says that no services configured. So we are able to log into extension mobility, but we're not able to log out from this extension mobility. All right, so to do that, you basically need to go to this device setting and device profile, select your extension mobility profile, this guy here. I'm already on this page, so I'm gonna go ahead and do the subscribe and unsubscribe for this service as well. So that once this service is loaded, it also allows the user to log out. If you do not subscribe on the device profile as well, you'll not be able to log out. So I've just subscribed to the service and the phone is logged in now. The reset now, and now you see that we have got an option to log out from the user. So I hit yes, and now it's logging off, and it will now have my regular extension back again on this IP communicator Sydney Doe. I'm going to go back to the other phones, and I want to demonstrate to you that how I can use the same profile in some other office. Okay, let's say this is 1,000-kilometer distant from the previous office, and now Here we go. We are logged into the extension mobility in Office B, and it's attempting to load my extension. So perfect. Now let's try to do the IP communicator right here. For some reason, it's still not loaded, so I had to force it to load with admin rights. So I'm going to use the IP communicator, the third device. Maybe this is at further 1,000 kilometers farther from the two different location, and let's use the same credential and see what happens. Login unsuccessful because the user is logged in here. So I'm gonna log out from here first and now try it here. Services, user one. And it's much more easier to type the username and password using IP communicator. Had it been a regular phone, then you have to choose the buttons and to bring the basically the characters. So you'd have to multiple type that button. All right, perfect. So we are logged in with our extension mobility on our third device as well. So this is it in this section wherein we created our extension mobility. We enabled extension mobility services and we created the extension mobility service. And then we subscribed the service that we prepared the phone for the extension mobility by enabling extension mobility and by subscribing to that extension mobility service we created in the first step. The third was to configure the users and profile for extension mobility, wherein we enabled the extension mobility, associated the correct device profile, and also subscribed to the extension mobility services on the device profile. So that's it. Thanks a lot for watching this extension mobility section. I hope it has been informative for you. See you in the next one. Thanks for watching.